Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Kirby Air Ride. I just realized there's a huge smudge on my glasses. I'm not doing a 99 lap Beanstalk Park. Ooh, we got some relaxing music. Didn't this also play whenever we were doing the exploration, like the off-the-ship exploration too? I don't really remember everything that makes a good lap in Beanstalk Park, but I'm sure we'll get there. Oh yeah, you want to stay in the air longer there. Yeah, I'm a little rusty. I don't remember exactly what I was doing almost a month ago. Just keep following right behind Alex, and maybe we'll have a chance. The fastest lap definitely requires that you don't go up here. For certain. Well, I missed. So I don't know if I want to continue the tangent that I was on last video. Because if you're just watching this video, I guess I will. Because I don't really care. At the end of the day, if anyone watches any of my videos, I make them because it's fun. But yeah, I was kind of talking about like a Zelda game that I was thinking of making. Obviously, not actually developing a video game, but like I wrote it in two notebooks. My controller is vibrating for no reason. I wonder why. Oh god. Great Scott. Then you can get in the air off this. No. Spun by accident, because sadly, if you're a little too excited on the control stick, then you will spin. It's kind of the side effect of games having multiple functions on single buttons. Nicki Minaj just singing to her heart's content somewhere on the stage. Haven't seen Alex for a while. We probably won't see him again for the rest of the video, honestly. Like, he's just too quick. Okay, that does not look good. What the f... Is somebody else gonna drop a nuke? What is happening? Oh my god. Two people sung, then two people dropped bombs. Do good things come in twos? Maybe. Okay, please stop. I went straight through that. What the fuck? That is precise. Alright, the catch-up mechanic made it so that I was unable to change my direction. Please stop doing that. A-Bun did nothing. But yeah, I was mostly speaking on the progression. I love progression in video games, where games start off with you being really weak, like really slow, enemies hit you and you have like a massive debuff. If like knockback in Terraria is a great example. The fact that you can, in progression, get an accessory that reduces or removes knockback entirely is awesome. Kind of feel like it could be even better, like maybe make it so that in pre-hard mode you just have like knockback reduction, not like immunity, and then the immunity comes in hard mode. Like I feel like that would make more sense, probably, but it's fine. Anyway, so in the Zelda game that I'm thinking, or not thinking of making, but I made a blueprint for in the past, and I think about it pretty often, and I'm kind of proud of it, even though I went back and looked at it and it was way less polished than something that I would make now. It's still really cool, and the ideas mentioned within are really neat. I'm a big fan of them, even if the execution was subpar, I will say. So you start in a forest. Yeah, it's like a callback to multiple different Zelda games. Like the intro is a kind of reference to A Link to the Past. Dang. Because you live in the Lost Woods with your uncle. In Link to the Past, though, you kind of live... I don't know, it's not really a place. It's just like south of Hyrule Castle. In the middle of nowhere. Kind of reminds me of Minish Cap's house. It's just kind of in the middle of, you know, like nowhere. But Yeah, in the blueprint, it's in the Lost Woods. There's like two parts of the Lost Woods. There's the southern quadrant, which the map itself is inspired more so from Minish Cap for sure. There's like quadrants. Which I guess that's kind of how all the Zelda games work, but it's more so based on like how the map functions in specifically Minish Cap, where there's different quadrants of different shapes. I'm going to probably be noticing Jesus summoning me to the realms of heaven more often, because the catch-up mechanic mixed with the Wingstar's good glide is probably going to make me leave the ground in weird spots that I'm not used to. Alex is just too good. Is he about to lap me? Or is that Alexis? I don't know. Those other two are moving pretty slow, dude. I don't know who that is. It's hard not to hit the ceiling there. And just to... Yeah, I'm just like constantly bouncing on the floor because my ship's acceleration is getting so jacked up from the catch-up mechanic. I don't know how I'm possibly, like, behind this guy. There's no way he isn't cheating. Like, the high-level CPUs in this game just cheat. Their ships are just faster than they're supposed to be. Which sucks. I guess that's what you have to do, though, when the game is as simple as this game is. Because there's not, like, much you can do to, like, make them, like, more skilled. So they're just faster. That's lame, though. Anyway, you start in the southern Lost Woods, which is just called the Lost Woods. The northern quadrant's called the Deep Woods. And, yeah, then there's a quadrant below the Lost Woods that's just called the Forest Settlement. So yeah, you have a play stick that's a two-handed weapon. It's kind of like the Deku sticks from Wind Waker. Alright, I'm dead. I retire from the match with a broken collarbone. Joke is that Kirby has no neck. Wow. My ship is fucking crazy. Who gave it steroids? Ow. But yeah, you start in the Lost Woods in your house with your grandpa, or not your grandpa, your uncle. Grandpa would be cool though, like, because in Wind Waker you start with your grandma, like living with your grandma and your sister. Has that ever been done before? I don't think any other Zelda game has a sibling with Link. Like, pretty much every other Zelda game, he's just kind of like living by himself. Or with his uncle. The original 2, does he even have a house? I don't think he does. And then, Link to the Past, he lives with his uncle. Link's Awakening, it's literally a dream the whole game. What games after that? Ocarina of Time? You just live by yourself? Oracle games I never played, I don't know. Maybe I should play those in Link's Awakening on the channel. Because I've never even completed Link's Awakening. I did like 3 dungeons, I believe. And then I got to the whatever spot where it requires you to do a fetch quest, and I just didn't know how to do it. But yeah, what game's that? Majora's Mask, it's not even... Link doesn't live there, he's going to a foreign land. And then Wind Waker, yeah, you live with your grandma and sister. And then Minish Cap, you live with your grandpa, who's like the smith guy. Maybe Machine Passage I'll do Meta Knight. I wonder how that one lap I was so fast, like 50 seconds, jeez. Phantom Hourglass, Link doesn't live there, he's in a foreign land. Spirit Tracks. Does he live with Nico? I don't even remember. I just ate that man through the floor. I just ate that man through the floor. Okay. Twilight Princess, he lives by himself. Spirit... Or no, Skyward Sword. He lives in a dorm kind of situation at a school. Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't really live with people too often. Most of the time it's by himself. But yeah, in my blueprint version, he lives with his uncle. And he's got his play stick. He goes to play in the forest settlement, but then it's like, turns out that there's monsters out. So they tell Link to go home. But Link defeats the monsters. Actually, no, other way around. He does go home and then finds out that his uncle is getting kidnapped by monsters. But Link can't follow because there's these trees in the way. There's little trees, and then beyond them, there's these actual, like, entire trees. Like, the monsters grow trees so that nobody can follow them. There's that controller vibration again. I wonder why that happens. Wow, she's like right behind me. This area is hard to navigate. Maybe the Swerve Star was what I liked using here more. I need to use the Swerve Star soon, like in one of these races. Like, what's after Beanstalk Park? Machine Passage, so I have to do Meta Knight next. I guess I'll do Swerve Star Checker Knights? I'll do Swerve Star Nebula Belt, I guess. And do Warp Star Checker Knights? Maybe the Rocket Star. That'd be fun. I used the Warp Star for like all of the early races for some reason. Kind of regret that. But not too much, I guess. This is fun. Anyway, yeah, so with Link's uncle kidnapped and nowhere to go, he can you go north at this point? No, you can't. There's trees there too. There's trees to the west, to the east, which is where his uncle was taken, and then to the north there's trees, but there's smaller ones. His tiny little play stick does not do shit against these trees. It's, yeah, a small stick that a child is playing with. It's not an actual weapon. It does 0.1 damage, and only has a 3-hit combo, so 2 small hits and a big hit. So that's a total damage rating of 0.4. Yeah, not very impressive. And it's a 2-handed weapon, so you can't really defend yourself. Not that you have a shield this early in the game, I guess, but even if you could, it's a 2-handed weapon. It also swings, that combo is also slower. Alright, I'm getting thrown around by an invisible force beyond my control. But, yeah, it's a 2-handed weapon that does 0.1 damage, and it is slow, and only has a 3-hit combo that does 0.4 damage. So, the first enemies that you see are Maniblin Scouts, which are like these little devil dudes with pitchforks. The ones in the base Wind Waker work a lot differently. They have 2 HP, and every time you hit them, they get launched. Maniblin Scouts only get launched, and Maniblins themselves only get launched away if you do more than 1 damage. So, these early weapons, actually you could just combo them and they stay there and let you hit them, instead of getting launched with each hit, which would make you have to hit them hit them once, wait for them to walk back into melee range, hit them again. I don't want to go this way. Dude, these invisible walls blow so much. Anyway. Yeah, so a Maniblin Scout has 1 HP, so that's 3 combos. I'm dead. Hello. I don't know what we're doing right now. We're kind of like on top of each other. I just hit left. I don't know why it's spun. I guess whatever position my joystick was in was like slightly right. So when I move my mouse to the left, or not my mouse, I'm so used to saying mouse. I am such a PC gamer. I am disgusting. But anyway, yeah. So there's 3 Maniblin scouts wandering around the area near the 2 gates. There's 2 gates to the forest settlement, and there's 3 Maniblin scouts that are trying to get in. Whenever Link kills all 3, then the guard actually lets him in. And once you're in, you can purchase a like a hunting knife, which instead of doing 0.1 damage and being a 2-handed weapon and being slow and only having a 3-hit combo, it's a 1-handed weapon. Its range is lower, but it attacks faster and has a 4-hit combo, and it does 0.25 damage instead of 0.1, which means you can kill the Maniblin Scout in 1 combo instead of 3, which feels really good. I'm a big fan of when video games do that. It's like the best thing. This bird... I'm too quick. Yeah, the Windstar was maybe a mistake. Oh, whatever, man. So yeah, once you get the knife, you also get a shield. You are tasked with... Well, the knife still can't cut down the trees. So you need to find an actual weapon to be able to progress. Like the hero sword that does 1 damage. But you don't know where to find it, and they won't sell you the sword at the forest settlement. Like, they won't sell you the sword. That's because you're a little kid, and they don't want to give you like a sword because it's dangerous. And they just instruct you to stay in the forest settlement and be safe. But obviously, since you're a shonen protagonist, you have to be like, bruh, I ain't staying here. I'm saving my uncle. So like, to prove that you're worthy of the sword, you go to the base of the monsters in this forest, and it's like the first dungeon, and you clear it out. Trophies, by the way, like inspired from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, there's like trophies for each of the monsters. It's kind of like Super Paper Mario-ish as well, because whenever you have the trophy, you do double damage against that particular enemy, and take less damage from them. Of course, you can toggle that on or off, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, there's like a few trophies around that you can find for certain enemies. There are green chews in the Southern Lost Woods as well. It's like Maniblin Scouts and a... why is that there? It's so annoying. There's Maniblin Scouts, green chews, and 1 black bokoblin. The black bokoblin has 5 HP, green chews have 2, and obviously, as I said, Maniblin Scouts have 1, so like... Yeah, it takes a lot of hits to kill the black bokoblin. But if you do kill the black bokoblin, there's a heart piece for you. And there's another path far to the west of the Lost Woods, Southern Quadrant, that also has a massive trail with a bunch of green chews, but you can ignore them. They're very slow. They're more of a defensive enemy than an offensive attacker. So they're easily ignored, and that's another heart piece there. Yeah, and then after that you go to the first enemy base, which has a lot of weak enemies like Keese and more Maniblin Scouts. There's even there's a new type of chew in there. There's the red chew, which has 1 HP, but it actually attacks right away instead of hiding underground like the green chew does. And then there's a new type of Maniblin at the end. It's the boss of the first dungeon. It's like it's a defensive Maniblin. It has a shield and a trident, which, unlike the regular Maniblins, only have just the trident and no defensive capability whatsoever. It has 3 HP, and yeah, obviously the shield blocks all your attacks. It's the first enemy you can start using some parry attacks against. Which obviously, you just have the hunting knife, so it does 0.25 damage. That's... 1 combo does 1.25, because 4 hits. The 4th hit is always a big hit, so that's 3 weak attacks for 0.75, and then 1 big hit for double damage, so that's 0.75 plus 0.5 is 1.25. So 2 combos is 2.5. So 3 combos to kill this defensive Manibulin, which is how many it took for a Manibulin Scout back when you had the shitty stick. Pretty interesting. There's also some regular Manibulins in this first dungeon which have 2 HP. Which, yeah, 2 combos to kill. Like, this first dungeon is pretty small, like a lot of small fries there, just like a lot of Manibulins, which are the weakest foot soldier in the evil armies. If you choose some bats, nothing scary. After you clear out the first monster base, some more monsters started appearing. Like the Manibulin scouts in the forest are replaced by regular Manibulins. And this is the point, though, where you have proven yourself by clearing the first dungeon. That's when, I guess, it would be really cool, you know, it'd be really sick if you could, like, take the shield from, instead of buying it, or maybe you can buy it as well, but it's like, you can customize which shield you want to use. You can use the giant shield that the defensive Manibulin used, or you can use, like, the hero shield, which is easier to use. It's like, maybe it's like a double-handed, like a two-handed shield. Like, it's much more defensive. It's a much more defensive shield that blocks a lot more damage, but you can attack while you're using it. Maybe like a little bump with the shield? That'd be cool. I never thought about that, but anyway, yeah, after you beat the first dungeon and go back to the forest settlement, they are willing to sell you the sword, which is a massive update, or upgrade. 4 times as powerful, going from 0.25 damage to 1, and the range is twice as good. Same speed and same combos, though. 4-hit combo, 4th hits being the strong hit, and just the exact same speed. Maybe the knife could be a little faster. That would make more sense, because that's usually how knives work. Like in Skyrim, the knife attacks are faster than sword attacks, because they're smaller. It makes sense. So yeah, maybe that would make sense if that was how that worked. But anyway, you get the sword, and then you are able to break the smaller trees that were blocking the north, but you still can't break actual, like, the big trees that are blocking. They're blocking. I'll use this frying pan as a drying pan. No. The west and the east are still off limits, but you can go into the deep Lost Woods now because you can break the smaller trees and like bushes, which leads you to another enemy base. There's the second enemy base of the forest, which acts as the second dungeon, and this one has a little bit tougher enemies. There's some Deku Babas, which are from Ocarina of Time, and then like some Skulltulas, which are from Ocarina of Time, but then also some Boko Babas, which are from Wind Waker. It's like some mix of different things. Some Deku-likes from Twilight Princess. It's like a kind of like a mix of dungeons between like the Forest of Fairies aesthetic in Wind Waker mixed with the kind of like Deku Tree mixed with the Forest Temple from Twilight Princess. It's like a mix of 3 different areas, kind of. The dungeon item there is the axe, which actually lets you cut down trees, which every time you reload the area, in typical video game fashion, the trees respawn, but not the ones blocking the road. Those ones are obstacles, and once you clear them once, they're gone forever. But like random trees, because I obviously have like, I am going to have a tree trophy, which is like a 1 in 4,000 chance of dropping whenever you chop down a tree. But yeah, so the axe does 2 damage instead. It's like it does 2 damage, but it swings very slowly and is a double-handed weapon. So it's kind of like a skull hammer kind of thing, but it's an axe. So yeah, Hero's Sword, 1 damage. Hero's Shield blocks a hit that does up to 1 heart of damage. Barely. Like if an attack that would do a heart of damage hits the Hero's Shield, you get like launched backwards and like fall on your butt. You don't take any damage though, and you get right back up, but it's like a momentary stun. That happens in that base game too, like Wind Waker, like a Moblin's horizontal slash. If you block it with a shield, Link actually like gets launched backwards, like he slides in the dirt, and then like lands on his butt and like has to get back up because it's such a big hit, you know. so that works the same in this like blueprint version of Wind Waker, like this mix of all these different games. The boss of the second dungeon is a shield bokoblin, which has 7 HP. Which, since we're at up to the hero shield now, one combo does 5 damage, so that's not as crazy. Like, not as much of an ask. You're a lot stronger than you were. It would take a fuckload of hits to kill it with the stupid little knife. And yeah, shield bokoblins have a wooden shield which blocks hits that do up to 8 damage. So you would need an attack that does 9 damage in order to cut the shield in half. Which is not a mechanic in Wind Waker, by the way. I think it'd be really cool in Wind Waker if you like had Granny's Super Stew and you did a jump attack that does 8 damage. Like the Moblin Sphere or the Shield Bokoblin Shield like would actually break because your attack does so much. But then obviously like the Dark Knight shields that are metal wouldn't break. But like the wood attacks, dude, those be breaking if this game had any sort of logic to it whatsoever. Yeah, so I added that to this hypothetical game. Like, if your hit does more than 8 damage, then you can actually break the wooden defenses that the enemies have. But yeah, it's like... So the second dungeon isn't too bad. Then you get the axe, and you can finally explore to the west and the east. The west requires you to have... I forget what it is. I don't remember. I think you need the grappling hook to go west. Like, there's a really long like pathway that leads all the way to the quadrant that's... there's actually a second quadrant to the north that's just slightly over a bit, like a little bit. Because remember, the map is kind of like based on Minish Cap, where there's like different squares that are kind of overlapping in a different way. Squares and rectangles. So... yeah, there's a quadrant to the left of the Deep Lost Woods, but north of the Lost Woods, called the Rabbit Fortress, which is where... it's kind of inspired from Redwall, because there was a story in Redwall about a Scandinavian ferret with a saber called Kurda, and I put her in the game because I was reading that book back in the day, like in 2009 or whenever I made this. But, yeah, you can't go there until you have the grappling hook, so you can't go west, so the only choice is east, which is kind of where Link wants to go anyway, I guess, because that's where his uncle was taken. So you managed to get to Hyrule Field, but in Hyrule Field there are 3 ways to go: north, northeast, and southeast. And there's another one that's southwest, but like that also requires the grappling hook. The path to the north is blocked with a gate. Path to the northeast is blocked with a gate and has multiple switches. And if Link tries to hit one, then the other, like by the time he gets to the other one, then the first one isn't hit anymore. So you have to activate both of them at like a really close time, like a very close interval to each other. So that you need the boomerang for that. They're too far away for Link to be able to hit them without the boomerang. And then, yeah, you need the grappling hook for the southwest, so you go southeast, which is like the more mountainous kind of area. The mountainous area leads you to like the Death Mountain equivalent in this game, which is like Mount Spent, I guess. And that's, yeah, that's the third dungeon. It's like, yeah, it's like Dragon Ridge Cavern, not too bad. It's like same kind of enemies like Magtails and Red Shoes and some Fire Keys, regular keys, Red Shoes. I don't think did I already say that? I don't know. Some Black Bokoblins. A lot of the normal things that you would see. And then the boss of that is the same as Wind Waker. It's Goma, the lava crab, the flaming lava crab, as I called it when I was very young. And that dungeon, yep, gets you the grappling hook, which lets you go to the southwest path in Hyrule Field, which leads to a house where you can buy a bottle, which aren't really required for anything in this blueprint. Maybe I should have done something like Wind Waker did and have you like water bomb flowers to blow something up. That would have been cool. But no, in this it's just like they're optional to carry potions if you want, or like fairies. But yeah, and then you can access the next dungeon, which is the Rabbit Fortress, using your grappling hook. Remember, South Lost Woods. Take the west path, and then it's like north of the South Lost Woods, slightly to the west of the Deep Lost Woods. And that's where the Rabbit Fortress is. And it's locked, and the whole reason you even know this is here is because to the pretty close to your uncle's house, actually, there's like a bunch of rabbits running in a circle. And if you get near them, they run away, and you follow them to the west. They go all the way to the fortress. They try to lead you there and ask you to help them. Save them, liberate their home from Kurta, the evil Scandinavian ferret with a sword. And you agree. So they let you into the castle, which is blocked, by giving you the Deku Leaf. Which there's fans near the back of the castle that you circle around and hit with the Deku Leaf, and that lets you into the castle. And this is the 4th dungeon, Rabbit Fortress. It is kind of a mix of a few things. It's like Forsaken Fortress, not quite the same aesthetic though. It's a castle. It's not dark, though. It's more bright. I'd say kind of Temple of the Gods-ish, but again, a lot more lit than Temple of the Gods, even. It's kind of its own thing, I guess. It's not really like anything else. But, yeah, there's Armos there. There's Bokoblins, black ones. Some shield Bokoblins. The first Moblins are here, which have 10 HP. And their spears... Once they've taken more than 4 damage, they can use their spears to block your hits, which block up to 8 damage, like I said earlier. And then they have Poke Attack, which does 1/4 of a heart of damage, a Vertical Swing, which does 1/2 a heart, and then a Horizontal Swing, which does a full heart, just like in regular Wind Waker. If you hold up your shield, they'll try to punch your shield into a vertical attack, just like the base Wind Waker. Moblins actually have a lot of attacks. It's interesting. And annoying. They're very annoying. One of the more annoying enemies in that game. Mostly because they block all your hits, and their poke attack is very disjointed and strong. I'm so fast. Why can't Alex just be normal? Why are my catch-up mechanics so broken? I'm like the same speed as the Swerve Star. But defeating Moblins in the basement and releasing rabbits from the jail cells, that gets you the boomerang. And then you use the boomerang to scale the top of the fortress and fight a new enemy that I invented called a Warblin, which is just a shield Bokoblin, but better. It's basically a weaker Darknut. Their hits are weaker than Darknut hits, and they're a lot more fragile. Actually, the hits are about the same. They're about at equal offensively. Warblins are slightly weaker, but they're a lot less durable. Like, they don't have shields. Well, they do. They have metal shields, but they don't use them. Darknuts are a lot more intelligent than Bokoblins. They basically only use shields when you use jump attacks and, like, spin attacks. They don't really defend against your normal hits unless they're really low health, kind of similar to a shield Bokoblin. It's basically, imagine the shield Bokoblin's behavior with a wood shield, but just give him a shield that's more durable. And I guess he blocks jump attacks. That's about it. They have armor like a Darknut, so you can't hurt them until you parry attack their armor off, but since they only ever do one swing, like, Bokoblins only do an overhead swing, they never do a vertical. So you'll only ever take off their breastplate. They'll always have the armor on their head, which kind of makes them harder than Darknuts, I suppose, but they're a lot easier to combo. Regular Darknuts will jump backwards and like try to avoid your attacks. They'll shield more often. So even though their HP is both 16, they both wear armor, and the Warblin will have It defends less. It defends less and is not nearly as evasive, even though it's faster. Like, its speed is actually a downfall for it, because it uses its speed to, like, get closer to you more quickly so that you can hit it quicker. It doesn't actually make it more of a threat hitting you fast, it's more so that you can hit it quicker, which is weird. But yeah, that's like the strongest enemy in the fortress other than the boss Kurta herself, which is just like a similar fighting style to the Warblins. Anyway, yeah, you beat her, and then the Rabbit Fortress is liberated. So now you can use the boomerang to get through the gate that goes to the northeast in Hyrule Field. Well, Spent Field, I guess. It's the land of Spent, right? It's not Hyrule. And that leads to an area that has a north path and another east path. The north path leads to the lake, where you can talk to a smith, and for the right price, he can empower your Master Sword that you don't have yet. So that's not useful. Not much else at the lake, sadly, because this is a pretty old blueprint. I would have added way more if I made it now. There wasn't much there back then. And then north of the lake, there's a frozen, like, wilderness, like kind of like a frozen wasteland kind of place. It's kind of like the desert wasteland from Ocarina of Time, where like there's a certain path through. Not nearly as picky though. Like there, it's pretty obvious when you're going to an area that you're not supposed to be, and it's easier to stick towards terrain and go where you're supposed to. But I don't remember how you, like, that isn't where you're supposed to go next, right? Like after the Rabbit Fortress. Yeah, the next place after the Rabbit Fortress you're supposed to go is... Oh yeah, there's another pathway in the second... after you use the boomerang to open up the northeast path in Spent Field to get to the other half, there's actually not just a north path to the lake or a east path to Spent Town. There's also another south path that leads next to the mountain into another deep forest, which is like... Well, it's not deep. It's like the edge of the forest. Yeah, because there's like there's another forest other than the Lost Woods that's called the Sacred Grove, which is just taken straight from Twilight Princess, the name at least. Anyway, yeah, so like on the edge of the Sacred Grove, there's just like this peaceful little forest with a Deku Tree for you to go in, basically. Except it's not really the Deku Tree, it's like the Spent Tree. It's not like a sentient, like, dude with a nose or that talks. It's just like a giant tree that you're meant to explore. And that place has Mothulas and winged Mothula that you fight for the bombs. That's where you get the bombs. And I guess that's also, yeah, that's right. The ice area to the north of the lake is blocked actually by boulders, so you need the bombs to be able to get in there. And you can't get to the Spent Town also. Like, you try to go in and they need an ID. Like, they need some identification, or you can't come in. Like, you're not a citizen there, so you can't go in. At this point, there's like so many different pathways. It's like, where the heck did these monsters take my uncle? So you're just kind of going everywhere, trying to explore the world and get as much information as you can. That was weird. I didn't get hit, but the guy right in front of me did. That was like on the edge of the range. I've never seen that. That's so crazy. So I don't even remember how you get the ID to go into that city. It's been so long. But I do know you need the bombs first. So you need to do the Spent Tree first. The boss of the Spent Tree is down in the basement, and I couldn't just do Goma again, like from Ocarina of Time. I did like a new enemy that was like a old enemy. It's like a weaker version of the Armo Goma from Twilight Princess. It's like the Queen Spider or whatever. Queen Mech Spider. Kind of similar though. And the way you beat it is by getting it to run into a tree and topple itself over and then like hitting it. Maybe you had to use the bombs to topple it over, actually. I don't remember. There was something like that. But yeah, it's like a giant spider, basically, a giant mech spider, just like in Twilight Princess. But it doesn't climb on the ceiling. It's just like in a giant room with a bunch of trees, and it climbs up on the side of a tree and it'll blast a laser at you. And you have to blow it up off the tree, maybe. That's another way you can get it on its side so that you can hit it with your sword. But yeah, once you get the bombs, I know there's another dungeon to the south of Spent Town that's like in the graveyard. It's like they have a well in the graveyard, because of course they do. I'm just trying to remember what's after the tree. Because there's like a ton of dungeons in this game. There's like 20 or something. There's like 30 or 20 or something. I guess you would go to the icy area next. Yeah. I don't know how that relates at all to getting the idea to go to the city, but like... yeah, you think the next one is the ice, the place to the north, the Temple of Ice Shards, which is a very small dungeon. It has a lot of new enemies, like Ice Keese, which aren't in Wind Waker. I think they have the same, just really low HP, but if they hit you, it does like a full heart of damage and freezes you. And I think the Temple of Ice Shards is the first time you fight a Dark Nut, which has 16 HP, breastplate armor piece, and a helmet armor piece, so you have to parry attack. A horizontal slice to parry off the helmet, and a vertical slice to parry off the breastplate. Or you can be a good player and just like run behind him. It's pretty hard, but like it can be done. And you can chop it off, his breastplate off that way, because there's like some cords keeping the breastplate on him, on his back, that you can chop to take his armor off and actually damage him. But the armor piece actually has its own HP. I think it's 8? No. I think it's 10, because it takes 2 spin attacks with Granny Super Stew, which do 8 damage. So it can't be 8, because you would one-shot it. Maybe it's more than that, I don't remember. But I do know that the damage that you do to the armor piece actually partially goes onto the Dark Nut itself, so its 16 HP is actually a little less than it looks. Because if you're hitting the armor with spin attacks, which don't stun you and do heavy damage, it's the best attack in the game, then you will quickly damage this Dark Nut and get him to be defeated. But he is a lot more defensive. He is a lot more defensive. He blocks your attacks. When he has no armor, he'll do a jump back to avoid your attack, and then do his own jump attack, which does a full heart of damage. Regular Dark Nuts are there's 2 kinds. There's silver and gold. They're the lowest ranking Dark Nuts. They have 16 HP. The difference is that the gold ones are slightly more defensive. Not in the original. In Wind Waker, I believe they're the exact same. They just have different colors. But in my version, there's like a slight difference where the gold ones are a little more defensive and the silver ones are a little more offensive. They both do the same damage. It's just a slight difference in like their behavior. Like, if a Dark Nut has a shield, it will block all regular attacks. Even though their armor that they're wearing would block them anyway, they'll still block with their shield, which has infinite HP. And it has 16 defense, because it's metal. So you would need to do 17 damage to be able to actually break it. Same with the armor pieces, even though the armor piece, the breastplate is special, it has its own HP that you can do to break it. Like, you can wear it down to break it. I don't think that makes sense, honestly. I think if I was to remove that, it would be a better game, in my opinion. Like, sure, it's a way of dealing with them easier, but like, it's too beginner friendly. Obviously, if I'm the developer, I'm not making this for babies. Like, if I made it more challenging like that, that isn't an insult to children, it's a welcome invitation for everyone, you know? So, like, maybe, yeah, I would get rid of the HP on the breastplate and just give the breastplate, the helmet, and the shield all 16 HP. same HP as the Dark Knight itself, or not HP, defense. So in order to break the armor pieces without a parry attack, you would actually need to use an extremely powerful attack. Bombs do 2 damage, always, but they do explosion type damage, which a lot of enemies don't have defense against. Dark Nuts, however, their armor is metal. Metal has defense against everything. 16 against everything. So explosions aren't going to do anything there. I hear Alex. But you get a lantern as the item, like the flame lantern, from the Temple of Ice Shards, which lets you melt ice. Which, ice blocks do block a few things. Which, one of the things they block, I remember, is the like the graveyard area to the south. So maybe the only thing you need to do to get the ID is pay rupees, maybe. There's another path by the Rabbit Fortress that is like not accessible for a long time, but I guess I didn't mention it yet. There is another path that's like down this really long waterway that has a heart piece. It requires you to have the double claw shot, but you can come back there again with the ability to swim infinitely, and there's a secret path to the ocean there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. So once you get the Flame Lantern from the Temple of Ice Shards, the boss there is what did I call it? Godzilla? I made like... Oh, Freezilla! Yeah, Freezilla. I made like a giant freezer from Twilight Princess that has like multiple layers you have to knock down. Kind of like that room in Snow Peak. You have to you have to melt all the different layers, and it'll slowly fall down until it's just a head spewing ice. I remember that. I had so much like creativity and like inspiration. I wish I had half the inspiration now. Nothing really inspires me anymore. I'm just kind of depressed fuck playing shitty old video games. I have nothing. I have no creative exercise. That's not true, I guess. I'm making some music, but like, it's not the same. It makes me feel bad. Like, I wish I still liked doing this stuff because it's hella cool. Anyway, yeah. So you get the Flame Lantern from the Temple of Ice Shards. Beat Blizzilla or Freezilla, and then what happens next? Yeah, you go to the town, and there's a bunch of different shops and stuff. You can go buy a second bottle. And when do you get the Master Sword in this? I don't know. Because there was a shitload of progression early, and then we just were stuck with the Hero Sword for a long time. I don't even remember. I think I did something weird. I think the smiths... There's one in the town, and there's one at the lake, and there's another one in the forest. All of them upgrade the Hero Sword, but like they need special elements. But the element in the elements you get from beating the dungeons. Like you'll get like an ice ore from beating the Temple of Ice Shards, or like the fire core from beating the Mount Spent Interior. Or like the Essence of Earth from beating the Spent Tree dungeon, like the giant spider. And what those actually do is they let you, like, once you have a certain amount of them to like satisfy certain upgrades, like you probably, I don't remember how this worked at all, but like 2 of them would let you upgrade your Hero Sword to be able to do 2 damage. And then all of them from like all of the early dungeons would let you upgrade again to do 4 damage, and then right before the final dungeon, because there's like 30 dungeons, it's not the final, there's like multiple chapters, it's like there's like multiple chapters of this story where like there's multiple dungeons that cap off chapters instead of like, you know, a game with like 6 dungeons or 8 dungeons or whatever and a final boss, and it's like, okay, we begin and go home, everybody, we win, good has prevailed yet again. In this one there's just like multiple different evils that you have to beat. Actually, I think there's one evil that you had to beat, but it just kept coming back. It was like a bad itch. But yeah, that's basically how the upgrade system worked. So I guess by this point, you would have the sword that does 2 damage. Never mind. I do not remember the HP of the Freezilla. I don't even think you hit it with your sword until you get to the head. Or I don't even remember if you hit it with your head, or hit it with your head, hit its head with your sword. I think you might have just melted it. I don't recall. I do remember that it had like an ice ball in its mouth. That in order to damage the head, you needed to freeze the ice ball, which just released its ability to breathe ice on your face, which just made the fight even harder. I wonder what you did before then, because I thought it was breathing. It was breathing ice the whole time, but I guess not. It had an ice ball in its mouth. Dude, this invisible wall here is awful. But then, yeah, after you get the Flame Lantern, the level 2 sword, then you're able to go to. Well, you've been able to go there, I guess, because you get the idea by just paying rupees. Sure, that makes sense. Capitalism, right? But then, yeah, once you're in the town, there's a way to the north, east, and west. West is where you come in, and south. South is how you get to the well, but there's like blocked by. You can actually go into the graveyard, but the well itself is what's blocked by the ice. North, I think is in order to go north. You need to get a hook shot. Because that's the way to the Spent Castle, but it's been blocked for a long time. Everyone's really worried about it for sure. Like, what happened to the King of Spent? What's going on? Yeah, like the path to the castle's been blocked for a long time. In order to get there, you need the hook shot. And to the east, it's just an innocuous farm. It's like Lon Lon Ranch equivalent, basically. Which is another path, once you're in Lon Lon Ranch, to the south that you need the double claw shot, or double long shot, to be able to get to. Which is how you get to the Sacred Grove. That's way later. The next dungeon is in the graveyard, which is the well that is frozen with ice that you break, or not break, but melt with the lantern. Kirby's face when he's taking damage, he's just like pretending to be hurt. I don't remember a whole lot about the well. I do remember that's where you get the Lens of Truth, which I don't know how that helps anything. Where's the desert, dude? I don't remember where the desert is. How do you get to the desert? Because I know the desert is the final dungeon before the castle, and it's after the well. Where the fuck is the desert? Maybe it's by the lake? Which doesn't make any sense. Dude, this invisible wall can suck my balls. Eat my balls, you fucking wall of invisibleness. Vibrating controller. I'm just trying to think where the fuck the desert was. I don't remember where the desert was at all. Crowd cheers when I get back in second place. Second place is mine, Alexis. You stay away from my prize. The Ferris wheel is definitely slower. Because no ship in this game can turn. It's just always going to be slower. I guess it was like at the lake to the west? Like next to... like to the east of Deep Lost Woods? But then, like, how do you get there, and why is that only accessible after you go to the well? With just the Lens of Truth. That doesn't make any sense. I must have also put the hover boots in there, like the Shadow Temple. Which is interesting. That must have been what I did, because I do remember there being, dude... maybe not. Ow. Was it north of... It wasn't north of the town, because that's where the castle is. North of Spent Field is the lake. North of that is the icy wilderness. To the west of that is Deep Lost Woods. So I don't know where the fuck the desert is. All I can think is that it's by the lake, and it's like this pretty... It's a pretty small area, though. I guess it makes sense. It's like to the... It's between the lake and Deep Lost Woods. It's like this tiny little desert area with a lot of quicksand that you can only like breach. Well, you can only get to that area in the first place because of... Actually, no. I don't even remember how you got there, but I think if I could add a revision here, I would let you go there way earlier, even though you can't do anything, so that you can remember, like, oh, I need to come back here, and that always feels very satisfying to do. And then once you have the hover boots from the well, and the Lens of Truth, I guess, which don't really do a whole lot. I don't think I did anything with the Lens of Truth in the game, other than in that one particular dungeon. I did the Nintendo thing where the dungeon item is useless outside the dungeon you find it in. I'm so disappointed in myself. But yeah, the hover boots are really good for crossing all the quicksand. And then the desert dungeon is really small, actually. Very, very small. And it gives you the long shot, or not the long shot, the hook shot. And you fight Malgera, basically straight from Wind Waker. Which, yeah, does a lot of damage. Does 2 damage hits, just like in the original. Not a lot of heart pieces around. I think there's a few that I just don't remember as clearly as the ones near the very beginning of the game. But, yeah, once you have the hook shot, and all of the like different elements from all the dungeons, you can get the level 3 sword, which does 4 damage, and you can actually go to Spent Castle. Which is, the road to it has been completely destroyed. There's all kinds of rocks and shit in the way. But, once you're there... Yeah, it's like basically a Dark Hyrule Castle from Minish Cap kind of vibe. There's a lot of Dark Nuts there, a lot of Bokoblins, Warblins, a bunch of tough enemies. It's like it's a lot of different enemies from a lot of different areas there. It's like a real climactic area for sure. There's a new enemy that you fight in the courtyard. It's like the Iron Kargarok, which the Kargarok is like a Wind Waker bird that has 2 HP, does 1/4 of a heart of damage. It's very weak. Very annoying, though. Very pesky. But, yeah, there's like an iron version that has a bunch of different attacks. It can pick you up and throw you, drop a bunch of bombs, shoot lasers. It has all kinds of crazy attacks. It has like the... Go quick and like try to hit you with its talons like the Helmarok King. They're not big. They're the same size as regular Helmaroks or Kargaroks, but they're like... They're just metal. They're made of pure metal. They make like the metal Ridley like wing noise from Brawl when they move. It's really badass. They're very strong. I don't remember what that does for you though. I don't think there's a dungeon item in this dungeon. Is there? I don't remember. I still didn't give you the bow, which is funny. I think you get that later. Dude. There's actually like an Ocarina of Time kind of thing where there's like a forest, fire, water, shadow temple, and then a desert temple. So maybe I'm like skipping some dungeons before you're actually able to truly get there. I don't fucking remember. I don't remember this very clearly. Because, yeah, okay, I'm skipping some dungeons. Between the well and the desert, which is why I'm like not able to remember where the desert is or like how you access it, because there's a few things you do first. Because after the well, you have to go to the forest temple. I don't want to go that way. Leave me alone, invisible wall. But you actually go to the forest temple after the desert, or after the well, which is pretty similar to Ocarina of Time. That's where you get the bow. You fight Phantom Ganon. Ganon isn't in this. He's like, I don't know what he is. I don't even remember. Wait, no, it wasn't Phantom Ganon. It was another one of the giant spider from the tree dungeon. But it's like the one you fought in the tree was the king, and now you have to fight the queen spider, which is like huge, because female spiders are larger than their male counterparts. So you essentially have to fight like a much harder version of the one you fought before, and now you have the bow though, so you can actually hurt it. Because the bombs don't do shit, the spider is way larger, so the bombs don't actually do anything to him. Yeah, and there's like a lot of block pushing puzzles, and you have to get the 4 pose like in the actual forest temple, so you can go down to the basement. Pretty similar to Ocarina of Time's forest temple. Fire temple, I don't remember how you access it. Oh yeah, you have to go to in the area with Spent Tree, which has no other like deviations. It's just a path that leads to the tree with a bunch of green shoes. There actually is a path that connects to the mountain and goes underneath it, because Mount Spent Interior, like the 5th dungeon where you get the grappling hook, is like the top of the volcano, but the fire temple is underneath the volcano, so it's like way hotter and scarier. I remember that. And that's where you get the Megaton Hammer, which then lets you enter the water temple. You fight Volvagia in the fire temple, and then you enter the... I know the mini-boss for the Fire Temple is a red Dark Nut, which have 32 HP. It's like a Mighty Dark Nut equivalent, but enemies are getting way stronger in this version, so... Invisible walls are just stealing my mortgage, like killing my wife. I can't do anything in this stage. I remember liking it way more. It's probably because I'm not on the Swerve Star. But yeah, the water temple tests you and makes sure that you have every item in the game. There's like a room that you need to use every item like to get through. And that's where you get the iron boots, which let you sink to the bottom of the water. I know. I'm not trying to go this way. The game is shit. That's the stupid invisible wall in that spot is so crippling. Can't even play the fucking game. And you have to fight 2 red Dark Nuts for the iron boots. And it's kind of like the Lake Bed Temple, where there's like 2 different towers you have to go to and change water directions. And then once you have the iron boots, you can sink to the bottom and fight the boss. Like the bottom of the main room is really deep, but you couldn't actually sink down there because you didn't have the iron boots yet. The boots. But then you get them, so then you're able to do it. And it's basically just Morpha from... I guess it's more feel. I was more of a... I took a little something from everything, but I was more so inspired. I don't want to go this way! Fuck you, game! I don't want to go left either! But like... Yeah, it's like more feel. Which is cool, because like you don't use the... Wait, how are you able to breathe underwater? I guess you aren't. So it's like a really sketchy dungeon. Or like really sketchy boss fight where you can't really like breathe, so you're like trying to beat him before you drown. That'd be cool. That was cool. Synchronized spin. That should be an achievement. But yeah, you beat Moorfield. It'd be cool if there was like bubbles, air bubbles you had to catch to not drown. Gotta barely get scooped up by that rail. Fire ability sucks. It's not really that abilities suck, it's just that the game doesn't really allow them to do anything because of how the controls work. And like, Kirby doesn't really work as a racing game, but I'm glad it exists. Mostly because City Trial is goated, but like, Air Ride's fine. Top Ride's pretty fun. It's very unique. If you're going to do a racing game, Top Ride is probably the best option. The actual choice of racing here is, I don't know, kind of lame. But, like, it makes more sense. It doesn't need to be a Kirby game then, because it's like, oh, you don't even inhale anyone, and it's like you have to do the gimmick, or else there's no reason to make it a Kirby game. Yeah, probably. I was going to go on that rail, but then I got smacked by an invisible wall. I really love the aesthetic here, though. I think that cloud with the vines going all through it is my Twitter background right now. Ow. But yeah, that's the Fire Temple, Water Temple. Then you go to the Shadow Temple, which I guess has like the heavy switch that the Wind Temple has, so that you can open the door to the Shadow Temple. And the Shadow Temple is really deep. I think I have like 13 floors or something crazy. And there's like a scary like ghost king, not like Jalhalla from Wind Waker, the big fat one, but like an actual scary ghost. Shoots like green fire from his double lanterns. Very cool. Ow. And then you're able to finally go to the desert. I don't remember where it is or why, or what item you get from... Oh wait, Lens of Truth. That's where you get Lens of Truth. You get hover boots from the well, and then you get... Or no, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. You get the lens from the well, just like in Ocarina of Time, which helps you finish the well but not do much else. But then you're able to go to the Forest Temple, I don't remember why, and then you use the hover boots that you get from the Shadow Temple to go to the desert, and then the desert's a pretty small dungeon that's kind of anticlimactic, honestly, and then that's where you get the hook shot, which lets you go to the fucking castle, and that's where all the Dark Hyrule Castle cool stuff goes on. You fight the Iron Karkarock. And maybe you get... I think you got light arrows, actually. The reason it didn't make sense before is if you got there without the bow, that'd be, like, kind of weird, right? So yeah, you got the light arrows. Fire and Ice, I don't remember if I did anything with Fire and Ice. The bird is way better at stopping. Me and highway traffic be like. I'm getting tailgated by Red Kirby, dude. Yeah, get fucked. That being said, enjoy being in front of me in a sec. Dang. Thank you for letting me up here, but I'm too fast to go to the right rail, which means I'm going slower. I mean, I tried spinning like 3 times, but it wouldn't let me. Yeah, so you climb all the way up Dark Hyrule Castle's equivalent, Dark Spent Castle, and it's kind of similar to the Kurta's Fortress, or like the Rabbit Fortress, somewhat. And the boss at the top is like a giant, like, it kind of reminds me of Vadi's second stage from Minish Cap kind of thing, where you have to shoot it with light arrows in a certain pattern. And then after you beat it, because it turns out your uncle got taken to Dark Spent Castle to be used as a sacrifice by this, like, strange, dark, like, demon creature that you have to shoot light arrows at with multiple eyes. Like, for whatever reason, this dark demon thing is sacrificing people to the goddess of death and destruction, Lodias, which is quite the surprise for multiple reasons. One, my uncle's fucking dead. I came here to save him and he's dead. I'm too late. That's pretty crazy. Second, there's a dark goddess of destruction that's taking people's souls as sacrifices. That's nuts. Nice children's game. Rated E, by the way. Probably would be if you released it in the 90s. Now that would be like rated R. Because children are vegetables. But back in the day, you had blood in a video game and it was rated E for everyone. Ocarina of Time has blood in it. Bah. Well, not the 3D version or the, like, 1.2 release, but, like, back in the day there was blood in the Shadow Temple. There was Islamic chanting in the Fire Temple and blood in the Shadow Temple. It was great. It was Everyone was happy. Nobody complained. And then they turned the blood green, removed the Islamic symbol on the mirror shield, removed the chanting from the fire temple, to a much worse, like, dark moaning kind of noise. Not as big a fan of that. So yeah, after you beat this dark demon dude and find out your uncle's dead, what do you do next? Well, next, you actually get... There's a flute that you get all the way back from the rabbits from whenever you beat Kurta. They don't just thank you, because you don't get an element from beating Kurta. You just like free the rabbit fortress and let the rabbits go back to having a fortress, and like their kingdom of happiness is preserved yet again. But they give you a flute in thanks, which you have no idea what it does, and it's not used the entire game until this point. So this flute, when used on these pedestals, which are kind of like the pedestals of Ocarina of Time, which this doesn't warp you though. It'd be cool if it did. I would definitely add that nowadays. But all it did was when you played it on one of these specific stone like platforms, it would teleport you to a place called Split Dimension, which has 4 different entrances to 4 different dungeons. These are the final 4 dungeons. They are final. They are the Wish Ocean, Lindius's Tower, Sios, actually it's called the Rift Tower, and then the final dungeon, Lodias's Tower, which has 30 floors. Yeah. I really loved Zelda games and wished that they were much larger scaled. I always wanted them to be much harder, much larger. The dungeons I wanted to be huge, and I was always so disappointed by how small Ocarina of Time felt. I just was like a picky, like, spoiled child when I was a kid. Anyway, yeah, so how do you get to all 4 of these different, like, pathways in Split Dimension? Because they're not connected to each other. There's no way to go from one to another. There's just, like, if you look on the map, there's, like, 4 of them. Actually, no, it's not like that at all. It's kind of like a Birdfoot. It's, like, 3 pathways, and then 1 pathway to the south. The pathway to the south is to Wish Ocean. And we got Lindius's Tower, Rift Tower, Lodias's Tower. So the Wish Ocean is to the south, and then the 3 towers to the north. So, how do you get to them? Well, the Wish Ocean is the first dungeon, and the easiest of the 4 final dungeons, and the pedestal is in the Frozen Wilderness, or Frozen Wasteland, you know, where the Temple of Ice Shards is. There's another secret thing in Temple of Ice Shards that we'll talk about later, but I'm already 72 minutes into the video talking about this shit. God. You can see why this is, like, something that I'm really, like, not proud... I guess I'm proud of it, even though it's, like, not as good as what I can make now. It's still, like... I'm more proud of it because I finished it. Like, it's such a massive idea. Like, I had so many ideas, and I was so inspired. I just kept going and going and going, and it filled 2 notebooks up. But, yeah, so you go to the pedestal in the Frozen Wilderness, or Frozen Wasteland, or whatever. That takes you to the pedestal in front of the Wish Ocean. Where's Lindius's? Lindius's is right where the rabbits were running in a circle right next to the uncle's house, so it's in the Lost Woods. And I think the one to the Rift Tower is, where is it? Is it in the middle of Spent Town? I don't remember. I know the one that goes to Lodias's Tower, like in front of Lodias's Tower, is by Spent Castle. It's like right outside the front door. But I don't remember where Sios's is. I don't remember where the one that leads to the Rift Tower is. I don't fucking remember. I think it might be at Lake Hylia, or Lake Spent, or whatever the equivalent is. But, yeah, so the Wish Ocean is, I think it's of 1 floor and then 5 basements, and it's like a lot of labyrinthian, like, water. It's like a water dungeon that isn't based around water levels as much as it is around navigating around waterlogged labyrinths and like fighting water enemies and getting like through. It's a lot more of a gauntlet thing than like a problem-solving thing, but like it is still a maze, but it's less about like putting together a puzzle and more so just like getting through the maze kind of thing. And the dungeon item you get from the Wish Ocean is it was the flippers, which increased your ability to the distance that you're able to swim. So, yeah, that's how you beat the Wish Ocean, is you get to find the flippers, they let you swim further, and then you can get to the end of this one room, which then leads to the rest of the dungeon, and then you fight a big Octorok from Wind Waker as like a mini-boss as well. And then you fight Wishias, the goddess of, what was she the goddess of? I don't remember. I think Wishias is the goddess of light? Wishias is the goddess of light, Lindius is the god of creation, Sios is... What is Sios? I think he was like willpower or something. I was gonna say temperature, but like Wishias does that. And then obviously Lodias is the goddess of destruction and death. But, yeah, so... The next one is Lindius' tower, which is pretty damn tall. I think it's like 12 floors. Maybe it's more than that. I don't remember. It's more so about fighting a lot of enemies. There's a item that lets you attack... Like, the dungeon item for Lindius' tower lets you... specifically on switches, it lets you attack much quicker. There's like a switch that's specific to a few areas in the game that... It's one switch that has to be hit a certain amount of times in a certain like amount of time. And this item from Lindius' tower is the only way you can hit those like enough times in that amount of time. And this is an introduction to a new enemy type. Two new enemy types actually in Lindius' tower. There's shadow enemies and golden enemies. So golden enemies in my like Zelda game idea have like a very rare chance of appearing instead of a regular enemy in place of them. And they're a lot more powerful. But they give you a lot of rupees when you kill them. But in Lindius' tower, there's a golden enemy that appears every single time, and it's the mini-boss. It's a golden dark nut, which has like, I don't even remember, it was like 256 HP or something. It's so powerful. It does like 4 hearts of damage with a regular slice, and like 16 if a jump attack or spit attack. It's so OP. And then there's a bunch of Beamos that are like special to Lindius' tower that like are really fast. They're kind of inspired from Twilight Princess's like Temple of Time white Beamos, but they're like powered up regular Beamos. Yeah, Lindius is pretty tough. You have to use like the hook shot and dodge his lightning bolts. He's a big fan of lightning for an attack. And then the Rift Tower is after that, which you have to use dynamite to blow up these special statues, which let you go to different parts of the tower. Because the Rift Tower is so large that it is split amongst a bunch of different dimensions, and it's like so tall it's not actually all in one dimension, so you have to like go to different dimensions inside the dungeon to finish the dungeon, which is kind of how it works, which is funny because Lodias' tower is all in one dimension and it's taller. Anyway, I think there's like 24 floors split amongst like 12 different dimensions. It wasn't 12. It was like 8, I think. Each different dimension's like a different, like, one's forest, one's like shadow, one's fire. It's like all the different dungeons you go through are their own like dimensions of the tower. Like there's a fire dimension and like a water dimension. And you gotta fight like powered up versions of some of those enemies. Like there's a 3-headed Stalfos you have to fight in the shadow one. And a lot of the bosses from the dungeons you fought before are just like mini bosses in each of the different like dimensions you go to. Like you have to fight the Queen Spider again in the forest dimension, and like the Pogo boss from the Shadow Temple you have to fight again in the Shadow dimension. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, and like the dynamite that you use to go through in between dimensions is basically just like the bombs, but it does 16 damage instead of 2. Still not strong enough to damage regular Dark Nut HP, but There is a sword that you get after beating the Rift Tower. After you beat the 3 God Towers, they give you the Tri-Blade, which is a sword combined of the essences of positivity of the three gods. And it does 16 damage with a regular attack and replaces all of the sword upgrades that the level 3 sword basically. It goes from doing it's 4 times as powerful as a level 3 sword. Okay, so then with the Tri-Blade in hand, you go to battle Lodias at the Lodias's tower, which is massive and spooky and very I don't know how to describe it. It's like a shadow temple, but not architecture-wise. It's the same ambience as the Shadow Temple, but with the architecture of a massive tower. And it's like a spiral staircase all the way up this thing, kind of similar to how I don't know what to compare it to. You know, in the first Pokemon movie with Mewtwo Strikes Back, where they have that one slide in the center that goes all the way up, kind of like that, but bigger and with stairs along the inside of this tower. And occasionally you have to go in rooms to get keys. And there's all these different demons and things you have to fight. I know there's this weird cat robot that somebody made on DeviantArt in 2008 or whatever that I thought was metal as fuck and I put as a mini-boss. I think I called it... What did I call it? I called it Destructotron B version, I believe. Oh my god, that takes me back. Oh my god. That's so old, dude. That was 20 years ago almost. I forgot about that shit. Yeah, you fight Lodias. He takes 500 hits with the Tri-Blade. If you actually... Once you get to Phase 2 and his armor comes off, you can't look at him because his true form kills you. Once you beat him, you actually free Lodias from the dark energy, the dark spirit that was taking over her body. Because I said him a second ago, that wasn't a misspeak. Lodias was described as a he, but once you defeat Lodias and get rid of the evil spirit taking over her body, she's actually freed. It turns out she's really nice, actually. She's just was being controlled by this evil entity, like Azathoth or whatever. But his cover name, is Heck, I think. Just Heck is the character name. Such a child, villain name. It's Heck. Oh no! It's Heck! Sounds like a farmhand's name in the 80s or something. Anyway. But yeah, you save Lodias, and it turns out you haven't actually won. You just freed the spirit from Lodias's body. Now you need to track the spirit down and kill it for good. So you track it all the way to... well, actually, I think before that, I did some other things. No, this is after. Okay, I'm getting the chronological order of this messed up. So, yeah, you go to, this area is inspired from City in the Sky from Twilight Princess. It's above Hyrule, or, Spent Castle, I believe. And yeah, it's kind of inspired from Twilight Princess's Sky Tower, or City in the Sky. And that's where you fight this evil fragment high up in the sky. That's where you get the double claw shot also, which lets you go to the Sacred Grove and the ocean. But you can't actually do anything there yet. So next, sure, the evil fragment is defeated. What next? Alright. Well, at this point, Link is basically just like a hero for hire. He's basically just going around solving everyone's problems, so the next thing that he decides to do is to... he's also an explorer. He tries to stop this... I really, really liked Zant, I remember, so I put Zant and Midna both in this as well. They just have, a cameo here. You go to the Realm of Twilight, and you talk to Midna, and she gives you a key that lets you open this one thing in the forest, which leads to the Crescent Palace, which is where Zant is hiding, and then you beat Zant, and then Lindius is like, wow, that's pretty cool. Here's an opening to an entire kingdom in the clouds that you should probably know about. That's pretty cool, right? And And then your Link is like, yeah, that's really cool. So then you explore the entire like Sky Kingdom, where there's like, I think there's a South Road, North Road, Center Road, East Road. There's like 4 directions in a Center Road basically, and the South and the North Road has 2 dungeons, the Low Temple and the La Temple, because like, can you tell I have a spectrum disorder? I kind of just insert all the characters I like into one thing, just mash them together. Like I have a Latios and Latios dungeons because they're my favorite, and the Low Temple. Holy fuck, dude, this thing is crazy. I might have to dig this out at the end of the video to like show you, but this thing is so like massive. In the La Temple, you get boots that let you reverse gravity and walk on the ceiling, and in the Low Temple, I don't remember. I think you get the fire and ice arrows. I don't remember. But yeah, after that, what do you do next? I think that's about when you're able to go to the Temple of Time, which is in the Sacred Grove, similar to Twilight Princess. Because you couldn't go there until you had the double claw shots, but now you have them. And maybe the fire and ice arrows were needed as well, which is why you need to do both those things. In order to get to the Crescent Palace, by the way, you need to go find a few different keys. There's like a stone key and a Twilight key. The stone key is in like... I don't remember. I think it's in the Frozen Wilderness, like to the north, past the dungeon. There's also a Temple of 1000 Trials, which is pretty neat. Actually, it was only 100. It was only 100. Like it was like the Savage Labyrinth, but the first 50 floors were kind of standard, and then there was 50 more floors that were way harder, and that's where you get like the item that halves all your damage, like the blue tunic or whatever. Decreases all incoming damage by half. Or to half, rather. So, yeah, that's pretty neat. And the Savage Labyrinth. Maybe there was a key at the bottom of the Savage Labyrinth, too. I don't remember. Temple of 100 Trials, maybe what I called it. We're actually not that far behind Alex. Surprising. He did not finish that far in front of us. But then, yeah, you're able to go to the Sacred Grove, which is kind of like, in this version, is kind of similar to a... it's like a place where Lizalfos live. Like, specifically the ones from Twilight Princess. I had talked for like almost 2 hours about but I'll sum it up. The Temple of Time, where all the Lizalfos live, is the home of the Lizzle Lord and all of his Lizalfos army. Like, he's like the big boss who wears golden armor, has like a 5,000 HP or something. And the only way to hurt him or his Lizalfos is to find the Master Sword deep in the Temple of Time. And they've kind of graffitied all over the Temple of Time and built onto it, like this tower onto it, like architecture that doesn't fit at all with the original aesthetic of the Temple of Time. It just kind of looks overgrown by this like growth, which is the tower the Lizalfos built. So you find the Master Sword, which does like 500 damage? I don't remember. It's like an insane amount, more than the Tri-Blade. Because Lizalfos take like... I think they have like 1,000 HP. So you fight them with the Tri-Blade. What's 1,000 divided by whatever? What is it per combo, actually? 16 times 3 is 48. My brain's melted. 80? 16 times 5. Yeah, 80. 1,000 divided by 80. Yeah, like 13 combos to kill one Lizalfos. So you find the Master Sword and they die in 2 hits. And yeah, so then you fight the Lizzle Lord, who parry attacks your parry attacks, and you have to parry those attacks. And he's like really, really fast, and it's like really fun. And then after that, you go to the ocean, and that's where you do the Ocean Temple, which is the hardest dungeon in the game, I believe. Even all the stuff after this isn't as like hard as the Ocean Temple, which is actually like 20 basement floors, and like actually there's a part where you have to mess with water levels. There's 3 bosses inside of the dungeon. Before the final boss of the dungeon, there's like 3 mini bosses that are all like Zant, Lizzle Lord, and then there's like a Robo Kuroger, which are like all super bosses basically that are just mini bosses in this dungeon. And at the very bottom, it's like Queen Georg is the boss. It's like this huge shark thing. Anyway, I'll stop talking about this. I don't know if anyone even gives a shit. I just like was trying to like remember all this nonsense that I came up with years ago. I don't remember how much more goes on after that. I think after you beat the Ocean Temple, you basically triumph over everything that Spent has to offer, and that's where you go to actual like Hyrule. And then I made like a second game inside the first game where you go to Hyrule and do all the Hyrule dungeons, and like it kind of reminds me of Heart Gold when you go from Johto to Kanto, but it's like you go from whatever fucked up version this is to like Hyrule. It's weird. And then you'll finally fight, because that one evil soul like that you was in Lodias that you purged and then hunted down and then destroyed. Turns out there's like 1 million of those, and they've all coalesced in like into one big like final thing that you have to beat, like after like doing 17 more dungeons in Hyrule, and then it's like this big ass tower, and then again where you have to go to the top and fight this evil like demon thing. Oh, oh yeah, I was gonna show you the Low Temple like real quick before I leave. I don't know where it is. Oh wait. That's right, I have a bookshelf now. The pluses of upgrades. I don't remember where it is. This looks pretty beat up. Okay, here's the first notebook. This is like, oh no, this is the second one maybe. What is this? Ultimate Dark Link. Yeah, this is the second one. It's the second notebook starts where Lindius' tower is. Oh, here's the first one. The pages are falling out. This is like almost 20 years old. Sadly, there's like some pages missing. We only have the Deep Lost Woods. We only have like Deep Lost Woods, which is like, yeah, there's the Crescent Palace. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe I need to make the webcam bigger. Easier to see? It's reversed, but like, yeah, there's the Crescent Palace, there's the way to the Rabbit Fortress, there's like crawl spaces from Wind Waker. And there's like, this is the Deep Woods, obviously, so like regular Lost Woods is like down there. Which is lost forever, sadly, because like, yeah, this is old as fuck. Oh my god, it's so old. There's like no cover, no back cover. Here's kind of the map going on. Oh my god. Yeah, look, like there's Spent, all the different like little quadrants. The like sky, City in the Sky inspired area, like the Twilight, True Spent with all the different roads. I guess it's not just like one road in the city, like the sky area. It's like 2 in each direction. Well, there's a huge one to the west or the east, I mean. Yeah, Zelda Midnight Fan Terror. Oh my god, this bitch is so crazy. There's Rift Tower. Let's show you Low Tower real quick. Here it is. The most convoluted mess of a dungeon I've ever drawn. Look at this. So this is first floor. Alright. First floor. It's like kind of hard to read still. Like a very maze-like thing. Alright. The page here is like starting to come off because this is like, I've looked at this so many times, but like, here's a double page spread second and third floor for you. There's just so much shit going on. God. I was just so like overflowing with ideas. There's fire bars from Mario, like the platforms that drop from Mario, rooms with ice in it, enemies, invisible pathways, visible ways through things, overhangs, place where you can walk on the ceiling. And in both the Low and the Law Temple, I think, yeah, kind of how like some of the older Zelda games did it. I have like this, like the dungeon itself at the very top looks like Alatio's face. I don't know if there's anything else worth showing. But thank you for watching this really weird episode of Kirby Air Ride. Oh my god. Is the whole second book full? Like, it is. I was doing some division? Oh, it's like some, like, riddle. Alright. Yeah. There's like a final mountain mystery in Hyrule. There's 33 dungeons. Oh my god. There's a list of them. There's a list of them from 1 to 20 in difficulty. I don't know why I chose that. The Low Temple is the second hardest. Ocean Temple is the hardest. There's also a Pirate's Hideout, apparently. Yeah, okay, well, I'll clean this up. I'll get my webcam back to normal size, and we'll go back to playing video games instead of whatever the fuck this is. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. See you next time.